Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for things that you need to stop and or shop for. And how lovely was your walk into the store today, dear customer? It seems like the time of year for Butterfree to be hatching from their Metapodian prisons and flutter about. And with all of said Butterfree meandering around and such, you are sure to see some Caterpie eggs lying around. Or you would have if I didn't spend my whole weekend gathering them all in order to sell them to you here at Team PokeMart. I'm just kidding, of course. I don't get weekends off. But I am going to sell you these damn Caterpie. Don't even think that you're walking away from this video as anything less than the proud new owner of a weird bug thing. Ugh, bugs. Speaking of bugs though, before that there happened to be a ton of Metapod stuck to my subscribe button, and my middle management hands are far too good to touch them. So if you could please do me a favor and vigorously click that button, then that should prompt the Metapod to hurry up and evolve out of pure fear. Because yes, I am happy to terrify innocent Pokemon for the sake of sweet subscribers. But starting off this line is Caterpie, a Pokemon that no one who played Red, Blue, and Yellow would be a stranger to, due to its frustratingly abundant presence in the Viridian Forest, both wild and in the possession of bug fanatics, which are also frustratingly abundant. Appearing to take a lot of its design inspiration from its real-life doppelganger, the Eastern Tiger Swallowtail Caterpillar, which is the most unnecessarily long name for a caterpillar ever, Caterpies are a bit of a chonk. And funnily enough, its title is the Worm Pokemon, because caterpillars and worms are totally the same thing, right? Well, you're wrong, actually. Read a book. Caterpie's body is composed of multiple segments, each having a yellow circle on each side, and a creamy yellow color on its underneath realm. And acting as teeny weeny limbs, there are 4 nubs on its front, all of which are a clear indication of a caterpillar, whereas a worm is more of a glorified piece of living spaghetti. Caterpie's tail is a yellow exclamation point looking shape, which may be an indicator of how alarmed this Pokemon can be if you encounter it in the wild. For its head, it has a huge black eye with a ring of yellow around it, and at the front is a red forked prong of sorts. It's recorded in its yellow Pokedex entry that if you touch it, it will release a foul stench from its antenna, which will drive any potential predators away. Meanwhile, its itty bitty whittle nubby wubbies are actually suction cups, and are very useful with Caterpie using these to climb up walls, trees, and anything vertical really, so I suppose that also includes you. Unless you're sleeping, in which case you would be horizontal. Unless you're sleeping while standing up, in which case you would be admittedly vertical and also weird. Very weird. But as a bug Pokemon, you'd be safe to assume that Caterpie's main source of noms are leaves. Caterpie are very fond of the old foliage and will climb into trees for snacks, sometimes even picking leaves that are far bigger than them themselves. Ho ho ho, big appetite there, little man. And as Caterpies level up all the way to the mighty number 7, which is a very early evolution I must add, it will shed its skin and create a cocoon for itself, which is its next evolution, which we all know for being one of the hardest mad lads out there, being Metapod. So here we have a profoundly phallic-shaped existence that is all but designed to do one thing and one thing alone, which is to get hard. So cue all the lols, because this makes everyone think of a penis. Low-hanging testicle-shaped fruit aside, Caterpie's main green coloring reigns supreme and has taken over completely, being reflected in Metapod's tough exterior. It's segmented in a similar fashion to that of Caterpie, only far more rigid and geometrical, with its body in more of a crescent shape. Lacking arms and legs, Metapod is unable to move and so relies heavily on its defensive measures, that being its hardened attack, which in my opinion is a very liberal use of the word attack. But that is pretty much the only thing that it can do. It will just sit there and continuously get hard. Sick Whilst in this motionless state, Metapod is preparing its body deep within its chrysalis, so it is ready for its next evolution. Whilst its shell is very hard, an assailant may be able to open the shell early, which may cause the body to be vulnerable to attacks, or even worse, you might end up with a half-cooked Butterfree. Ugh, I don't even want to think about that. So thank Arceus that Metapod can just harden itself up continuously as an ultimate defensive measure. And as Metapod finishes its job of preparing its new body, its shell will break open at level 10, revealing the ever iconic, beautiful next stage of this line, Butterfree. And here it is. This has to be one of the prettiest Pokemon of Generation 1, and is probably the most well-known and used bug-type Pokemon at that too. Butterfree naturally is based off a butterfly, and if you didn't know that, then there's no hope for you. You'd best just give up all of your hopes and dreams, put on that Team PokeMart apron, and start cleaning that floor over there. But Butterfree has a short purple body composed of 2 spherical shapos just sort of mushed together, with tiny claw-like blue hands and weirdly long blue feet to match. On its face, it also has a blue nose with the smallest of fangs fangs you'll ever see, and its huge red eyes that make it look as though it should have been perhaps the evolution of Venonat. I guess I'll save that tinfoil hat thought for another time. Its wings are also taller than its body if you don't count its antenna, and no, we don't, but they also span pretty wide. I believe its wings are based on the real-life creature, the black veined white butterfly, but I believe a lot of weird things, so take that as you will. Butterfree's Pokedex entries claim that these wings are able to flap at powerful speeds and scatter a highly toxic dust to any enemies in its way, which is interesting because not once does this line ever adopt the poison typing. Sneaky little butterfly. Just as with Caterpie, Butterfree has a big appetite, however, it has developed a taste for something far sweeter than leaves, being honey, and as such it will fly from different flowers, collecting whatever delectable nectars it can and take it back to its nest for private consumption. And Butterfree are also able to sniff out honey from up to 6 miles away from it, making it sort of like the equivalent of a sniffer dog, albeit one that is only able to detect honey, which would sadly have limited applications for catching drug smugglers. But we have yet another stage to explore, as with the Sword and Shield games came the introduction of Dynamaxing as well as Gigantamax forms, which is essentially just a glorified and much more bigger Mega Evolution. Tell me I'm wrong, I dare you. But at the same time don't, because I'm very fragile and you'll hurt my feelings. Anyway, Butterfree was one of the lucky Pokemon to get a Gigantamax form, and it is glorious. I really love this design, and if I had to say why, it would be because Butterfree's wings are really effing huge. And instead of being tipped with black markings, this time around they have this beautiful greeny blue hue about them, as well as dust in the same coloring tumbling down for all of the unfortunate masses to ingest. And as Gigantamaxing is a fairly new phenomena and only really utilized in the ever strange Galar region, I can't really tell you much about this. However, I can tell you that Gigantamax energy is the reason why its wings appear to be glowing, making them rather blindingly bright. But Gigantamax Butterfree is the true superbug, as these wings are also capable of creating powerful tornadoes. Yes, you heard correctly, tornadoes that can trap opponents, and in fact they are so powerful that they could easily blow away a 10-ton truck. Gigantamax Pokemon are pretty scary and world-threatening like that. I mean, honestly, the people of Galar spent far too much time thinking about whether they could Gigantamax, and far too little time considering whether or not they should Gigantamax. And now that you are well versed in everything to do with caterpillars, butterflies, and getting hard, ever so hard, let's take a look at the prominent trainers who make use of this line. And I think it's safe to say that everyone who grew up watching Pokemon as a child, as in a child my age that is, which now is old, but we'll all be very familiar with the idea that Ash Ketchum owned a Caterpie who would quite rapidly evolve all the way into a bountiful Butterfree. However, did you know that Caterpie was Ash's first ever catch? I mean, you probably did because you're not a moron, as much as I might say otherwise behind your back. But Ash and Caterpie had plenty of adventures through their time together, and on top of being the first catch by Ash, it was also his very first evolution as well. And with all of these firsts in mind, I'm also 99% certain that it was Caterpie who took Ash's virginity as well. But then we met the elusive pink Butterfree that Ash's Butterboy was a huge simp for, before simp was ever even a thing actually. And Ash, neglecting the age-old adage of bros before butterfly hose, allowed his Butterfree to leave his party with his new butter girlfriend. And speaking of, she is a true rarity. Not only is she the only pink Butterfree in the episode, but even shiny Butterfree does not have a pink body. It has pink hands and feet, but its body is pretty much just a deeper shade of purple and has big green eyes instead of red. However, this pink Butterfree has become a bit of a fan favorite, with some folks baffled that Butterfree's official shiny is not this variation. Later on though, when the Ruby and Sapphire anime adaptations rolled around, we were introduced to Soledad and Drew, two Pokemon coordinators who were respectively rivals to May, and both of them just happened to own Butterfree, which makes sense because coordinators are all about aesthetics, and Butterfree, well, it's a bit of a visual treat, isn't it? Stepping away from the ever questionable anime though, let's look at the Soul type expert who uses Pokemon from this line, and it would be Bugsy. Just take a wild guess what type he specializes in. The leader of the Azalea Gym, and he has a Metapod on his Gold, Silver, and Crystal team, which, let me remind you, Bugsy is a gym leader, and he sent out a Metapod in an officially sanctioned match, which, quite frankly, is the equivalent of just throwing a brick on the ground and somehow expecting it to make you Pokemon King. But truthfully, I am quite shocked to see at this line, and the very first bug-type Pokemon in the Pokedex, not being utilized more. There is a real gap in the skill market for bug wielders. You basically have all the riff-raff that are the bug catchers, as well as their designated bug lord, Bugsy, but just imagine what a competent trainer might be able to do with this line. Could that trainer be you, dear customer? Well, yes, it actually could be, but only after you give me money. Some more fun facts about the Caterpie line. Caterpie is part of the lowest special defense gang, with other members being Weedle, Igglybuff, Magikarp, Carvana, and even Attack Form Deoxys, a literal legendary Pokemon, the stuff of myth and legends, and yet it has the same special defense stat as a Caterpie. That's quite funny as well as horrifically sad. Tragedy and comedy all entwined into one form. The title of the worm Pokemon is shared with Wurmple and Snom, both of whom make far more sense than dubbing a caterpillar as a worm. I mean, come on, its name is literally Caterpie, but no, it's a worm. Shut up with your logic, Team PokeMart Manager, and sell me some balls. Prior to the Platinum game, Caterpie and Metapod were unable to learn the move Bug Bite, although I would argue that to this day, Metapod still should not be able to use Bug Bite because of its whole lacking of a mouth to perform the biting aspect of Bug Bite. Gigantamax Butterfree may be based on the kaiju, which is a Japanese TV/movie genre based on giant monsters. In this case, quite specifically Mothra, and other popular kaiju would be Godzilla, King Kong, and Attack on Titan in general. And finally, a truly useless fact, a Japanese cartoonist by the name of Ume Aoki, who was a character designer for the anime Puella Magi Madoka Magica, often draws the representation of herself wearing a Metapod costume, which really makes you think, like, what's the bug equivalent of a furry? Actually, you know what? Forget I said that. I don't want to know. And there you have it. That was everything you needed to know about the Caterpie line, except for the price tag, of course, but that's no issue for you, right, valued customer? So please do proceed to stop by and empty the contents of your wallet in exchange for common bugs. But also please do make sure to stop by Team PokeMart just to say hi, which you can do in the comments below. And if you're interested in some of our other merchandise, then please do click these tantalizing links over here, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular updates on our new stock. But for now, this has been Team PokeMart, and I'll see you next time.